I don't believe directly all the people that are saying they don't want kids, they don't want a husband, are saying that due to trauma. I think a lot of that is for 60%, right? Is
Yeah.
they didn't get the man they wanted, or they were unable to maintain the relationship they wanted, and then they just gave up after they felt they hit a shot clock. So people would stop asking them and worrying about why you're in this XYZ. And
Agreed.
that's yeah, and that's it happens, right? Maybe I think Bruiser talk about and Sweeney Andrea talk about readjusting your expectations and standards to what you actually can attract at this
Yeah.
portion of life,
Yeah.
and then navigate through that as opposed to the ideal list of men when you might not qualify for what he specifically is looking for.
Yeah. Hi guys. I was hot watching this video. Hot because she said, "Well, my mom was an older mom and she was just fulfilled being my mom." You know what happens? Mom experienced such a high level of trauma and heartbreak that she was unwilling to go down that route again. And so she resigned to being a mother, and she used that relationship with her child to supplement where a man should be. Just as much as we need men and we need our children, it's like the Holy Trinity. We need we are not going to be complete on our own, period. That's just it. And it's actually very egotistical to think that you can reach your highest version of yourself alone. Each one of us have a gift. Each one of us require connection so we can get to that next level. We do not get anywhere alone. And your sense of fulfillment, I think, should go beyond just your own individualistic desires and interests. When you marry someone, it's not just a thing you do. To me, it's a spiritual union. You are becoming bigger than yourself. You and your partner are becoming one. To me, that's the highest level of fulfillment. That's what God calls us to really do, is to love one another the way God loves us and to abandon our ego. And I don't think we will ever be fulfilled until we allow ourselves to reject the ego, in my opinion. So um hearing a married woman say like, "Oh yeah, I'm not fulfilled by my husband," and is crazy to me. It's not about your individual happiness. Yes, as adults, we all have to, at the end of the day, take care of our own emotional worlds. I understand that. But fulfillment, your purpose, the reason why you are here, yeah, you don't just make that up by yourself. And it is a privilege to have a partner to witness you and to grow into the highest version of you and that God has called you to become. And
Are you
I don't know. I'm
are you shocked that those women potentially don't subscribe to the philosophy that is backed by?
Yes. I
I
mean,
don't know why you shocked.
why? I mean,
You need to come on this panel more. You see way worse shit than that.
the thing
But
is, like,
let me back off.
as women, we're not built for this isolationist type connection. As women, we traditionally depend on relationships in the community. So for her to get to this point and say like, "Oh, I don't need anyone," I hear trauma. I hear someone who has normalized isolation, who has just resigned to the pain of being alone. I think honestly, that relationship that she had with her mom was parasitic. I don't think and to be very honest, I think she's selfish for not encouraging her mom to get remarried. And the reason why she's selfish is because she enjoyed the attention. She enjoyed feeling that intimacy, and that intimacy was not for her. It was for her mom and her and a man.
So I'm gonna try to. I'm kind of erring in the same direction that M White was going in, where he said there had to be something seriously wrong or something that have happened to make you feel that you can that you're okay with going it alone to the end of your days. It's really it's actually morbid to me. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if me and Bruiser was on TikTok yesterday, and I've come to the real. Well, was it this morning? It might have been this morning.
Shoot,
And I've come to
Lady O and Bohemian was on there with us too.
and I came to the realization, like, man, there's so many women that are scorched earth, where they like, I don't give a damn. We all gonna die anyway. F you, F this planet, F a man, and I'm like, man, that's diabolical to me.
That's a trauma response.
What I've come to realize though, because so I was watching this video the other day, and I realized that there are more men that yearn and want marriage and children than there are women. But it's and then to get to this point where you give up, what I realized is that men despairingly give up on family. And it's mostly because they believe that there is no hope for them. So they're like, man, might as well. They don't feel that it's in the cards. But when you think about women who give up on family, they do it ecstatically, gladly, because they think of it as a form of empowerment or a form of freedom rather than, you know what I mean? So, and both of those ideas are pretty bad. Like to give up on family, give up on potentially having a family, wife and kids, or husband and kids. Both of those ideas are bad, but I think the one that looks at it excitedly is far more diabolical, and it's actually worse, because I've seen what women who who have that scorched earth mentality, how scorned they look, how hurtful they can be to those around them. I even told someone, I think it's absolutely selfish for you to elect not to have children. Like to actively choose not to, not something happened and you couldn't, but to say, you know what, screw it, I'm not having children. I tried to explain to her, I'm like, think of it, if all 10 of us was on a desert island, right? And half of us had kids to replace us, and the other half did not. That would mean that our kids would be responsible for taking care of the other, all 10 of us. Only half of the kids will be required to take care of the all 10 of us in our elder years, because you decided that you didn't want to have a child to help out my child when it comes to taking care of us.
Very selfish.
And I just look at that as the most selfish thing you can do. And it bothers me. But I mean, hey, you can't argue with somebody that's scorched earth.
I mean, unless you have bad genes, Sweeney, there's people who certainly shouldn't be reproducing.
Well, the thing is that if you reproduce and shit goes wrong, it is what it is. There's a difference between that and actively choosing to not to reproduce. If you're of sound mind, if you're of sound body, and you actively choose not to, because there are enough people out there who can't reproduce. There are a lot of people out there who aren't in the position to reproduce.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She talking about people who ugly? Amir?
Well, I mean, that could be part of it. Why are you looking at me like that, Bohemian? Bohemian, do you want to fight? Because every time
think of it this way. Can ugly
people still have kids?
Well, look at it. Think of it this way. Can an ugly person still swing a hammer?
Yes.
Can an ugly person still dig a ditch?
Yes. These are all necessary contributions to the tribe. Where are you going with this?
It's about okay, wait. There are people with bad genes who are let's say less less intelligent, like you don't have bad genes. Some people are born with 16 years. Sure. No, not short.
No, not short.
God.
What she's saying is correct though.
But you guys understand. You should understand what I'm trying to say. It's not that.
So, Amir, let me help you a little bit, because you're going down a path that you might not be able to dig out of. So there are people with bad genes, right? But I wouldn't go superficial, right? There are some people who just would be poor parents, people who don't know how to raise children, people who have seriously psychological issues. Those type of people probably should chill the fuck out, right? But
100%.
I definitely don't want to. She's right about there being people, but definitely. For the reasons we talked about. But if you ugly, man, I've seen 2 hideous people come up with a child that came out half decent. So, I wouldn't stop there, right?
Yeah.
But
So
I
then,
mean,
so
again, when I
back to your
say to
point.
somebody, who chooses not to have kids, I'm obviously talking about somebody of sound body and sound mind. I'm not talking about somebody that, you know what I mean, that is incapable of actually raising children and they have them. I think, can we err on the side of the obvious when we're talking about this?
Yes. And that's why we have population decline and collapse, because so many capable people are just selfishly trying to live being a child into their 50s, into their 40s and 50s.
I
Oh,
really
like,
gotta, I really want to stop y'all real quick
okay.
because this is one of the gray areas that I forgot. I don't know the lady's name was referring to before. I've been a fully capable, extremely fertile person
Whoa.
that chose not to have any more kids
Okay.
because of trauma, because I have way too much trauma surrounding it.
Shame on you.
Huh?
You know there's therapy, right?
How many
I've
kids do
been
you
no no
have?
no no no. I've been through therapy. I'm fine now.
But she stopped
It
having
took
how many,
me
how many do you
it took
have?
me 22 years. It took me 22 years to get over. Um you don't know what people are carrying, and you don't know how heavy that is. I had one, and he was taken from me
Oh,
very, very badly. I will not take y'all through that. It's too traumatic to even share.
what? This is
Um a
this is to
person.
me.
Yeah, don't
a,
you don't have to
no, no,
share
no.
that.
You don't
I'm
have
not
to
giving
share.
away. I'm not telling any details. Because I don't do that. I don't but a person
Oh, I'm
that
so
I was
sorry.
dating decided that was the thing to do.
Mm-mm.
So I just had way too much guilt for 22 years. And I chose because I thought I wanted to a couple of times, and as soon as it happened, panic attacks up to the point
Flashbacks.
of being in the hospital, right? So there are gray areas. There are reasons why people choose not to. I get it. I get what you're saying. But I just want you to hold space, because people have had experiences, and even through therapy, there are still things that you just can't, like things that you have the hardest time working through. You couldn't imagine some of the things people have been through surrounding kids. So it was a conscious choice of mine to not do that. And even with my ex-husband, I still wouldn't, because unless I felt a certain amount of support for me to be okay, I wasn't doing it. So I just want us to be a little careful, because the kids thing is really, really sensitive around, when you're talking to a woman. You
Absolutely.
don't know what, there's so many variables in that.
But minus the extreme situations, like
Yeah,
before
for sure.
having any knowledge of it, if you can go back, you would have still tried to have a child, right?
No, I wouldn't. If I could go back, I still wouldn't have done it.
Do
So
you
you're
think
saying
there?
so you're
Oh,
saying a lot of so is it safe to say a lot of the reasons why women are electing to not have the child is because they're interpreting the trauma and fears from the examples that they've seen from other women having experience.
It
yes,
could
I would
be.
agree.
It could
Because
be.
your neighbor could be a woman like you that wants kids, and she see what happened to you and like, oh, I don't want that.
Yep.
Yeah, it could
What
be.
what would you do in that situation if you knew a woman was piggybacking off of your trauma, making those critical decisions?
That's such a
Well,
good
When
question.
her
so explain.
husband actually wants to have a family, what would you tell that woman?
Well, explaining, because especially if they have a husband, right? Explaining the fact that this was not my child's father. This was a totally different man, unrelated, right? And so it's safer. Not I
Oh, you
am
cheated?
not I am not ignorant to the fact that it could be the father, because a lot of
Oh,
times it is. But it's a safer option, because that person has as an investment in that child, not the same way that man did. he didn't have any investment in that child. So it wasn't anything for him. So
So
just identifying the differences.
So you just tell her identify the differences if and only if the man has some investment in and I don't know if you answered.
No. It is because if that's her husband, he would have a significant investment in their child because it's his. So that's a lot different.
So I don't think
Oh,
you're
you're
reading through
saying
the lines of what she was saying.
I know. She's saying if he having it's different whenever you as a man that's gonna be potentially invested in the child that she could have. So you would tell her, yeah, go ahead and make the decision. Don't look at my experience and negate being a mother just because you saw what happened to me.
For sure.
But if it was just some random dude, then you would be like, oh no, get an AB.
Wow.
I don't. So I support people in whatever decision they would like to make. Do I offer that as a suggestion? No. But listen, whatever you want to do, I'm here for you. But no,
Isn't
I
that the
don't.
Wait,
same?
I disagree because at
I
that
know,
point it's not
and
about you, it's about a child. And I understand the trauma. I get it. And it's but this goes back to the main issue, which is we do not heal in isolation. We don't heal in avoidance of the issue. We heal through going through the shit. Like when dogs are in fight and flight mode and they shake it off, that's their nervous system coming back to normal. When you've been traumatized, the reason why you're traumatized is because you cannot regulate. You're still in fight or flight. Maybe co-regulation, maybe connection, letting your partner in, having that child, working through your shit is exactly the healing you need.
that's
You
how
don't.
kids end up dead. That's how they end up
Exactly.
dead
Please don't do
in
that.
garbage cans. You gotta be careful. Wait, isn't this the same thing as saying we need children to be fulfilled? Because we were talking about having husbands to be fulfilled. What
No,
about the children?
what I'm saying is your trauma is your trauma, but you're not going. I think it's unfair to take the life of someone because you're unwilling to confront your trauma. Period. Through AB.
I think in her situation, what she was saying was outside
But
of
not in
her.
her specific situation, though.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in
So
general.
that's why I left room earlier in the conversation when I was saying something extreme had to happen. Like somebody either witnessed it or it happened directly to them. And to those people, I understand. And you don't want to push that onto the next person, or you got to heal through that if you ever do heal through it. But I don't believe directly all the people that are saying they don't want kids, they don't want a husband, are saying that due to trauma. I think a lot of that is for 60%, right? Is they didn't get the man they wanted, or they were unable to maintain the relationship they wanted, and then they just gave up after they felt they hit a shot clock. So people would stop asking them and worrying about why you're in this XYZ. And
Agreed.
that's and that's it happens, right? Maybe I think Bruiser talk about and Sweeney and Trey talk about readjusting your expectations and standards to what you actually can attract at this portion of life, and then navigate through that as opposed to the ideal list of men when you might not qualify for what he specifically is looking for.
And not to make this about body count, but if you're a young woman who has spent her youth exercising her options, I think monogamy and being faithful to one person is actually very scary. I think what you said is accurate. And there's also women who are bored because of what they did when they were younger.
When you say scared, you mean like they ain't gonna be able to turn that ass off?
What does that mean?
You know what I mean?
Good loving body rocking, knocking boots all night long.
Bottlenecking your juice box to one man.
I was
Can we
listening to a
keep this?
podcast earlier today, and the psychologist was saying, yeah, in general, women get very bored with monogamy. They get bored with one person. Modern women get bored. And so if you're a modern woman who's had a plethora of experiences, I think the idea of monogamy and being with one person scares them because of
How would you know?
the variety.
Are you saying that because of
Some
something you
women.
research or personal experience?
No, because hoes will be hoes.
Did you say personal experience?
I said research. What?
Oh,
Don't put this on me.
I'm just asking.
I'm just saying, like what she said, 304s. And it's not just women, it's humans in general. It's very hard if you've had a plethora of experiences to not constantly be one foot in the door and one foot out, seeing what the next best thing will be. Too many options.
I think it'll be more of too many options where women will get bored, because there's women like that may not have that many experiences and they get bored regardless. It's just the society that we live in, and they have friends that, I guess the ones
Yeah.
that you're talking about, that was out there promiscuous, and they're sharing their stories and everything with them. So they look at that and put that in their spirit and their life, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna listen to her, and yeah, I'm gonna get with
Yeah.
somebody else. So it's more of the society and why people are getting bored.
Yeah.
It's not too many
I agree.
traditional values being pushed out there.